Well, hey guys, good day. It is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. It's great to be with you on Inspirations for Your Life. It is, yes, May 4th, 2026. It is a Monday. And although it's the start of most people's week, it's not a start of our week. Our week starts actually on a Saturday and ends on a Friday. That's just how we do it for our 7 day show. This is your very first time here, guys. I want to take the opportunity to personally say thank you and welcome. If you've been here before, of course, I want to say thank you, but I want to say welcome back. It's always great to have you here, whether you're here once before or many times before. You know that we put a lot of great content out here. So if you have been here before or not, don't forget to check out believemeachieve.com for more of my amazing, of course, inspiring creations. And if you're thirsty, you're parched, you're hungry, or what have you, feel free to go grab yourself some RO water or a snack or whatever. This has RO water and some delicious fresh lemon in it. So really, really good and very great. Very grateful for you guys to being here. If you guys have not checked out my new book, don't forget to do that at believemeachieve.com, Drain to Driven. All right, guys, without any further ado, let's kick this show off. So this is Inspiration for Your Life. And the master topic for this week of Series 5, Show 19. By the way, this is episode 3. But the master topic for the entire week is how people rebuild direction when everything gets disrupted. And that's a funny thing because you don't think things are going to get disrupted. Oh, by the way, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur, engineer, marketing specialist, video producer, podcast host, coach, keynote speaker, graduate student, lifelong learner, and yes, now grateful to be an author. So today, I'm talking about what happens when everything stops working, when systems break down, when routines collapse, when direction just disappears out of nowhere. This is where most people stop and say, okay, I've had enough. But this is also where the rebuilding comes, where success starts to creep in. Yes, so you have to realize that. So again, today is Monday, guys, and when discipline becomes the foundation, that's key. Number one, everyone, discipline replaces chaos. When everything feels scattered. You ever had those moments, when you're doing something like everything's just kind of like a mess? So scattered, and the discipline becomes the first anchor that brings the control back to you and your life. And I think that's a very, very important thing to note. Number two, guys, structure becomes essential. Without structure, energy is wasted. But with structure, every action starts to align. Now, not overnight, guys, but it does align. And so when it aligns, it's like things really change for us. And I think that's an important piece that a lot of people, they just don't get that in the beginning. Number three, guys, routine gets rebuilt. New routines create predictability. And predictability, guys, creates stability. Yes. When we can depend on something, someone, even ourselves, we have stability, right? Number four, consistency. Consistency returns. Doing the same actions repeatedly, building trust in your own process again. But again, it has to build that trust over and over again. Number five, guys, focus strengthens output. When distractions are removed, results begin to improve naturally. Effort becomes intentional. You stop reacting and you start choosing where your energy goes. I think when we can become intentional about our actions, about what we're doing, our life starts to change, guys, in a very, very magical way. All right. Number seven, habits are redesigned. Old habits that failed are replaced with ones that support progress. Number eight, guys, action becomes planned. Instead of random effort, every move starts to have a purpose. And the purpose or the intentionality actually is based upon our core values. I was talking to somebody about the other day, and they're like, that's not a word. I'm like, yes, intentionality is a word. You don't hear it a lot. Intentionality is basically when you are acting and being intentional and doing things in that manner. Number nine, guys, energy becomes controlled. When that happens, you no longer burn out because your effort is directed. It's not scattered everywhere. And I think a lot of people out there don't mean to scatter their energy, but for whatever reason, they do. And then they're like so tired, they're so burned out, and they're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, right? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. That's important, guys. So, number 10, time becomes structured. Time stops slipping away when you assign a clear purpose. And so I want to say more than just that. I want to say when you become intentional, when you are in the moment, your time starts to matter. The moments matter. I find that when you are careless with time, it kind of just flips away from you. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand, like, why it flips away. But I want to tell you that it does flip away when you're not intentional. All right. And you might say to me, John, that's nonsense. Well, if you ever had a day and you're like, oh my gosh, I started the morning and it's like the night's here already. Like, did you just waste the whole day? Were you intentional about every moment? I think that's an important thing to understand. Number 11, guys, systems start forming. And small, repeatable actions begin turning into reliable systems. Now, again, this does not happen overnight. I want to be very, very clear about that whole concept. It does not happen overnight. And that's something we need to be very, very aware of. Number 12, guys, behavior becomes aligned. Your actions start matching your goals instead of working against them. And I think that's a very important thing, guys. So, number 13, repetition builds stability. Doing simple, I'm saying simple things, guys, simple things over and over creates a strong foundation. Probably one of the very first things you've probably ever learned many, many years ago was learning how to tie your shoelace. And learning how to tie your shoelace is not hard, but when it's the first thing you're trying, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Right. And this is a very, very big problem because, when you're younger and you're trying to learn how to tie your shoelace, it's hard. Right. There's, the loop and loop and going around the mountain and back and all these fun things to make it easy. But tying your shoe is like the hardest thing. I think tying your shoe and learning how to tie a tie. I remember being in college. And I remember being, I believe it was a sophomore or junior, and I still didn't know how to tie my tie, to be honest with you. And a good friend of mine, John, I said, what's the matter? I said, I need help tying my tie. He's like, oh, come here. I was like, I want you to teach me how to tie a tie. And he did. And so when he was tying it on me, it was easy to watch. My dad had showed me a few times, but again, he just expected you to pick it up 1, 2, 3. And if you didn't get it, well, too bad. So a good friend of mine taught me that. So doing simple things over and over creates that strong foundation. It creates a sense of stability for us and for people around us. And people want to be with people that are part of that whole process, right? They want to be part of that process. And if they can be part of that process, then I think a lot of people will be like, oh my gosh, that is so amazing. That is so great. But I think people just don't really get it because they're so busy about trying to change something, trying to rework something that's already been built. And then they get frustrated, right? So, like I was learning how to tie the tie. And for the longest time period, I remember being in eighth grade. I remember in my school, Our Lady of the Valley, up until about, I think it was usually the fifth grade, people were wearing clip-on ties. You really couldn't tell the difference, that well unless you were up close to them. But, I would always get teased at because I was still wearing a clip-on tie. I was like, well, it's easy. I just put it around, I just clip it, and I'm done. I don't have to go through making the tie. And so all through grammar school, I wore a clip-on tie. And again, it was just about, if you just put the tie here, you come around the back and you just clip it and you're done, right? Now I know how to tie a tie, but back then that seemed like a very impossible thing for me. So I think these things put more weight on us. And then because they put more weight, I was like, oh my gosh, if I don't do this today, what am I going to do? What's going to happen to me if I don't do this? Nothing, guys. Absolutely, absolutely nothing. It's just you're putting this pressure on yourself that you have to be somewhere, that you have to do something in a certain way. I think that's something that a lot of people, well, they don't understand it. Okay. And so thinking about that can hopefully get you on a new path. Number 14, guys, small actions matter. It's not the big moves that rebuild the direction of your life. It is the consistent small ones that keep the fire or start the fire. All right. Number 15, guys, distraction decreases. Clarity removes noise and it allows you to stay focused longer, not shorter, but longer. And I think when we can do something that's pretty amazing, like tying a tie or, you know, tying your shoelace, which doesn't seem like a big deal, it actually gives us a sense of accomplishment. I think a lot of people in life want to feel a sense of accomplishment. And when they do feel a sense of accomplishment, they know what's going on. And that's a very important thing for a lot of people to embrace, right? To embrace, maybe for you, maybe you tied your tie fine. But to me, that was like an amazing accomplishment. Maybe an accomplishment for you might be, it could be lifting weights, it could be losing weight, it could be so many different things. It could be working on your education, it could be being kinder to people around you, even strangers, right? So when we learn how to be in a moment or the moment, we become intentional and we basically show forth intentionality, a word that you probably haven't heard a lot because how many times do you hear somebody be intentional? Probably don't hear that, right? Intentional is somebody who does something because of their core values, because they want to do it, not because they just fell into it. Number 16, guys. Execution becomes priority. Thinking is replaced by doing, and progress starts to begin. And I think when progress can start to begin, our life can basically get a change. Okay. Our life can get a change. It can get an upgrade if you want, an upgrade that might take us to a completely new level. Right. But again, it's not going to happen overnight, folks. And I think sometimes we beat ourselves. So it's like, oh my gosh, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? When we don't expect it to happen and we go about our day and we're intentional and then it happens, you're like, oh my gosh, it happened, right? Clarity improves. Number 17, output. The clearer your direction, the better your results will be. And I think a lot of people, they rush through things because they want to get through it. I mean, let's talk about school for a moment, right? Maybe there was homework you did. I remember we had these, they weren't Mad Libs, but they're kind of like these big books. And they were like these mazes. In one of the classes, we had to do that. We had another class called phonics. And it was this boring book. You open it up and you had to like say the different sounds. And then you had to write them out. And it was boring, right? When you make something fun, people want to learn, including yourself, right? Number 18, guys. Number 18. Momentum stabilizes. Very similar to training wheels on a bike. The training wheels stabilize you until you're ready to be your own stabilization. You stop starting and stopping, and you begin moving steadily forward toward your goal. But the reason that you don't move toward a goal, I'll tell you why. You're scared. You lack clarity or direction. And when that hits, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to throw the towel in, right? How many times have you been in school and maybe a professor or teacher's going over something like, I'm so lost. And when nobody will explain it to you, you're like, I'll just forget it, right? You try to learn on your own, but maybe you can't. So you start to make the situation that's very easy into a molehill because of an attitude you have. Number 19, guys, resistance reduces when structure is in place. When it's in place, hesitation will fade. But a lot of people need to be convinced of what is and what isn't. So you have that situation where a lot of people just don't get that, okay? And I think that's a very important thing for us to know, all right? Very important for us to know because of that whole reason, right? And that whole reason is that you have ability, right? And I want to tell you guys that the reason you have this ability is because of who you are. All right. And I will tell you that sometimes you just don't want to go a certain way. not because you can't, but because of a feeling you get. Okay. And so that's something that I think trips a lot of people up. They don't realize, where they're going or what they're actually doing. And so that's very, very important. And so when you think about this from a perspective, okay, I think your life can fully change. Your life can fully change because of that whole question. All right. And when you think about it, you're like, oh my gosh, like, how do I do this? Right. And the question is not how you do it, but what do you do? Right. What do you do? Is it something that you can do, let's say, right away? Or is it something that is going to take a longer period of time? Right. And I think that's hard for a lot of people to really understand because they want everything to be now, right? They want everything to be now. And so they just feel that if they can't do something, then they just gotta just forget about it. And that's wrong. Number 20, control increases you and you begin to feel in charge, active, and not reactive. We said before over many shows that being proactive is better than being reactive, whether we're talking about preparing for a fire or a disaster or even your own life. If you are proactive, you're more likely to succeed. And that's something that I think a lot of people want to know, but for whatever reason, they don't. Okay. They don't. And that don't is something I believe that a lot of people like want to know, but they just can't. They can't. And that can't is something that I believe a lot of people just don't understand. It's not because they really can't, it's because they become different. And that difference, I think, makes something interesting in their life. See, they put this thought in their head that they can't do it, but really they can. Number 21, guys, identity starts shifting and you stop seeing yourself as lost and start seeing yourself as rebuilding, as a new person, as somebody that has infinite potential. But when you start, it's like, how do I ever get up that mountain? What am I supposed to do? Number 22, guys, discipline builds confidence. Each complete action proves you can follow through, right? But you got to believe that you can follow through. I think that's probably one of the most important things I can tell you. You've got to believe you can follow through. If you believe you can follow through, then, then guys, you can actually make a difference in your life. You can make a difference in your life if you actually believe. But belief is not something that happens overnight, guys. No, it's not something that happens every night. It takes time. And I think sometimes people they put themselves into a corner or into a closet and they can't seem to get out. And I think that's a very, very important thing. Um, so that's something for us to all know. And I think a lot of people need to understand that. All right. And so when people realize these things, they change their beliefs of who they are, of what they are. But they sometimes get so stuck that they can't move forward. Right. Number 23, stability strengthens. Okay. It strengthens. Consistency removes uncertainty and builds trust in your process. So the more consistent you are, the more the process just sort of changes. And I think that's something important to know, right? Very important to know. And I think if you know that, then your life will shift. Not a dime, but it will, let's say, evolve into a new direction. Number 24, growth becomes intentional. You stop drifting and you start directing your path, not anybody else's path, your own path. Let me ask you a question, everyone. When is the last time that your path got out of alignment because you didn't believe in yourself? Right? And if you don't believe in yourself, how can you ever get somewhere? I think that's a very important thing to understand. And I think a lot of people don't know that. They don't know the why, they don't know the how. All they know right now is that they're somewhere and that for some reason they just don't know where to go or they don't even know what to do. I think that's a hard thing for a lot of people to be able to rebuild. They don't know how to rebuild. Some people don't know when to rebuild. And you can rebuild anytime you want. But there is a down to that. And that is the fact that it's not going to be easy for you, right? There's going to be some minor setbacks when that happens. Number 25, guys, focus becomes lifestyle. Discipline is no longer forced anymore. It becomes part of who you are. Structure holds progress. Even when motivation drops, structure keeps you moving. It does. Number 27, guys, results become consistent. Okay. The output improves because effort is sustained. When you practice and you become a good ball player, right, you get even better over time. But this does not happen in 5 minutes. It takes time, guys. It actually takes time. And when it takes time, you can understand where things are going, why things are going a certain way. Okay. You can understand that. And that may be something that maybe keeps you, I don't know, in a certain way. And that way says, I don't know if I can grow. I don't know if I can change. That's you doubting yourself. Number 28, guys, system support success. You're no longer relying on willpower, but on systems. And we've learned before that when we build good systems, whether that's with technology, whether that's with our process, and we follow those systems, we have two things. We have structure and we have a commitment. Structure and we have a commitment. When we have structure and we have a commitment, guess what happens? We have success. We have reliability. We build trust. Number 29, guys. Discipline becomes identity. You are no longer trying to be disciplined. You are disciplined. And I think a lot of people, they get into a circle with that. They keep getting the circle of the fact that they are disciplined. They don't have to wait for somebody else to discipline them. Number 30, guys, rebuilding stabilizes. And what once felt broken is now structured, controlled, and moving forward. And sometimes it's hard to tell whether you're moving forward or not. For example, I remember being on a camping trip. I'm an Eagle Scout. And I remember I think it was a Weebelo or Life, which was just before Eagle. And I remember walking around this tree. And I remember that we kept walking around the same tree. So I said to we called our patrol leader. We had two patrol leaders, one for each patrol. And I said to the patrol, I said, Brian. He said, yes. I said, Brian, we've been walking around here for over an hour. He's like, quit yapping, be quiet, and you suck it up and, just deal with it. We're going to keep walking till we get there. And I was like, Brian, I'm not against walking or hiking for a long time. However, we've been going around this tree for at least 10 times. And so I said something to someone else. I said, "You guys think that?" He's like, "Yeah, I think you're right." I said, "I got a solution, Brian." So what's that? I'm gonna tie my string around this tree. And if we come back again and we hit the tree, we know we're going in a circle. You can do that, but we're not doing it. We're not turning. So we come back around, and I was like, Brian, see this the rope? He's like, what's that? That's a rope I tied around here about 15 minutes ago. We keep walking around the same tree. Oh, so we took the rope off the tree. And instead of walking that way, we walked a different way. But it was like I had to prove it to them. Ladies and gentlemen, when everything gets disrupted, most people look for motivation, but the motivation itself fades. What actually rebuilds the direction is the discipline that we hold within us. It is not exciting, it is not dramatic, but guess what, guys? It works every time. And once discipline becomes your foundation, guess what? Everything else, that's right, guys, everything else begins to slowly rebuild on top of it. Not quickly. And I think that's something that we might take a long time to not just know, but acknowledge. Because we might know deep inside that we've been doing that, but do we acknowledge it? Because once we acknowledge it, we can make a change. I think that's an important piece, guys. Discipline is key. And when we understand discipline, when discipline becomes the foundation, success becomes inevitable, right? The discipline helps build the motivation, and then we get the results. But sometimes motivation is weak, so discipline has to strengthen the motivation. Ladies and gentlemen, if this resonated with you in any small or big way, please share this with someone who needs to rebuild their direction in their life. When you do it, though, be kind. Don't be like, hey, you got to rebuild your life. And remember, guys, clarity is not found, it is built. Just like leaders are not born, they're made. Have yourself a great one, everyone. I'll catch you real soon. I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. Check out believemeachieve.com.